Thanks for getting on to the Sunday afternoon edition of Logan's European Outlook. We have got an easterly flow coming in off the North Sea, bringing colder air across the British Isles here, and temperatures are reflective of that here. 850 temperatures, as you can see, according to the ECMWF for today. We are dragging in moderately colder air from 850 down to the surface here, and the 2 metre temperature anomalies as of 25 to 4 in the afternoon Sunday. You can see here that we're temperatures generally between 2 in the north, even across the north of England, parts of Wales, holding on to temperatures just above the freezing mark. Even the south coast, 5-6 degrees at the very best here. Factoring in the easterly wind, and you can see here wind chill values up to slightly above the freezing mark. So it is a fairly raw day out there across the board, and even across Ireland and Northern Ireland as well. We're seeing wind chill values just above the freezing mark for late afternoon. Of course, as the sun drops at the moment, we are going to be in for a fairly cold night. But this is the ECMWF weeklies here, and the front running 7 days has marginally a wee bit below normal temperature wise. We are going to see an increase in the cold as we progress through the upcoming work week, because winds are going to veer rather than it being from an easterly direction. It's going to come from a northerly direction. That is where the snow chances will increase, and I'll have the details in that in just a second here. But as I play through this loop of the weeklies, you can see here this is the upcoming 7-day period. Notice here that the cold intensifies towards the 7 to 14 day here. We've got 2 metre temperature normally is a good 5-6 Celsius below normal, and that is going to be a notable different feel to the air compared to what we've had through the course of much of this year, and indeed the autumn season, which was one of the warmest. So the cold pattern is definitely coming in. How would you grade this kind of cold pattern? Probably a typical December cold pattern when all is said and done. I don't think it's going to be anything extreme or anything completely out of the ordinary. You would expect to see snow. You would expect to see days struggling to get above freezing, and by the time we reach the second half of this upcoming work week, by the way, we are going to see places struggling to get the freezing, even in the south of the British Isles. So it will be, a notable cold spell, but nothing extreme, nothing abnormal, really. I don't think. And then as we play through to the 12 to 19 day period, even we're still holding on to below normal temperatures. And that will take us up towards the Christmas New Year period here. So the cold is likely to ease as we progress towards Christmas and New Year, as I've said already, of course. And noticing the overview chart here, we'll stick to the 850 temperature of the ECMWF at the moment, because I'll show you here how things work out here. You can see the lines, the isobars here indicating the pressure pattern. Of course, we've got plenty of low pressure to the south, plenty of high pressure to the north, and of course, as we start to shift the high pressure core up towards Greenland, you're then opening the door to Arctic air, polar air coming in from the north here. And as we play through into the new work week, notice here the isobars kind of flip around to more of a north to northeasterly direction here. Then we start to drag in more bona fide cold air into the British Isles here. But what happens is, as we push towards the end of this work week, these areas of low pressure to the south, we need to keep an eye on that, because they are going to try to lift northwards here. And with that northerly flow, you're going to get snow showers even down to low levels, especially mid to late week, because the air mass is going to steadily grow colder as that airflow becomes a little bit more established, more mature, drags in that cold air mass, and we will start to see the snow chances increase. But notice here off the ECMWF model, we lose a little bit of intensity. Once we start to cut off that northerly flow, we start to see more modest brand cold air in place across the UK here. So that is certainly something that we need to kind of keep a close eye on here, because we are going to have a bit of a battle. Now, there's a pretty decent area of low pressure here on the chart for the time frame. This is away a week on Monday. So, what we're finding here is a situation where modelling struggles to kind of deal with, deep, cold, entrenched air masses the models do tend to have a bias towards allowing milder air back into the pattern once again. So the question mark would be that this area of low pressure, if it's there a week tomorrow, how much of an influence is it going to have? How much cold air do we have over the British Isles? And once cold air becomes established, it can be hard to push out of the way, and that is a possibility. But notice here that will try to push milder air up towards the British Isles, and of course, with cold air in place, you increase the chance of a significant snow event here. So I think as we push towards the period 10th through 15th of December, it's going to get quite interesting in terms of snow prospects and whatnot. And what we may find is some sort of a southern snow event where you could have clear skies, calm winds, temperatures in double digits below freezing across the north of the UK here. That's the kind of scenario that we could be looking at towards this time frame here. And then as we push towards Tuesday the 13th of December, away out in the fantasy land, of course, you can see here that milder air is trying to push into the southern half of Ireland, much of England, much of Wales, Scotland remaining in the cold air, and I think that is going to be the case. But how much mild air do we get from the south is going to be the big question, of course. But all in all, the cold pattern is going to be here, and it is going to be here for the next couple of weeks, I think. And then the question mark is going to be the period between the 20th and the 25th onwards. Where do we stand? Is the cold air out of the picture altogether, or is it still there and lingering and trying to hold on? I think the stratospheric polar vortex situation is completely out the window at the moment. I don't think there's any kind of involvement, so to speak, between what's going on within the stratosphere. It looks as if it's going to remain intact. We do have warming coming in from Siberia, but I don't think that's going to have any great deal of significance. I looked at the 50 millibar level, and we see the cold getting replaced by warm over Greenland. I think that is the atmospheric response from below up affecting the tropospheric polar vortex, because we're warming the air mass over Greenland, colder over a good part of North America, Europe, Eastern Asia. But I'm noticing that the models have been relentlessly changing that 50 millibar profile from warm back towards cold over Greenland, which to me could represent that the modelling is indicating that the NAO goes back positive again. So then we start to see a trough over Greenland. We start to see region trying to build back over Europe once again. So that could be the end game, so to speak, of this current evolving cold spell. So the details are complicated. Modelling has a hard time dealing with cold air mixing with warmer and whatnot. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how this all pans out. But let's have a look at the overview chart here. Areas of low pressure will try to push north, cold air trying to come south. You can see what takes place by the time we reach the early portion of tomorrow into Tuesday. We turn our wind more northerly. That is when we start to see the cold air coming down. We start to see precipitation becoming much more snow dominated rather than rain, even to low levels. As we push towards the middle portion of the week, we could have a significant snowfall potential for the north of the UK here. Then as we push towards the end of the week, into the weekend here, we've got an area of low pressure pretty close by. How much cold air is in place is going to be the question. Then as I showed you earlier here, there's an area of low pressure kind of trying to push warmer air northwards towards the UK by the time we reach the early portion of the following week. So next week, not the upcoming week, but the following week here. And again, it's all fantasy land stuff, this. Overall, but the general consensus in the models is that the colder air is going to try and hold on, and that is the thing to kind of keep in mind. I think there's going to be days where it's a little bit less cold. There's going to be days where it's colder, but I think overall December will wind up a colder than normal month, so to speak. Here, looking at the GFS ensemble, you can see here. This is the current setup here. So day 1 through 8, we've got cold over Canada, over the central and western portion of the United States. We've got a ridge to the southeast of the US, allowing milder air to come up. Look at how warm Greenland is. Look at how warm This is the 850 temperature normally, by the way. I should have said that at the beginning. Sorry about that. But notice here how much colder compared to normal Scandinavia into the UK and Ireland for the upcoming 1 to 5 day period. Then as we play it through the sequence here, you notice here that we remain in the colder days 7 through 14. So weeklies of the ECMWF, the GFS ensemble indicating the exact same thing, that we've got colder remaining in place. It's interesting how the models are now starting to see central and eastern United States and Canada warmer than normal at 850 millibars, which is quite interesting. Notice Asia, a lot of colder, really from about central Russia eastwards down into China, even Vietnam, the Philippines holding on to some unusually cooler, I think. So that's quite interesting here as we continue to play through the loop here. This is the 11 to 18 day period, 12 to 19, 13 to 20 day. We still have below normal temperatures at 850 over the UK, Ireland, a good part of North America, a good part of Russia, Mongolia, down into China. So this cold pattern looks as if it's trying to linger on here, according to a lot of these big hit long range models. And notice here that as we play towards the very end of the period, notice here there's quite a lot of blue starting to show up on this chart here, and then it kind of starts to warm up here. So long range model runs, extended runs, indicating that the cold is going to try and linger towards the Christmas period here, and we'll watch and see what happens beyond that period here. Finally, let's have a look at the UK itself, and this is off the ECMWF. So let's have a look at the snow chart here, because it has got some interesting things to look at here. As we progress through the upcoming work week, we'll start to see the snow coming, nothing major, but notice here across particularly the north of Scotland here, by the time we reach the middle and second half of this week, we'll start to pick up some significant amounts of snowfall here, even down the low levels. Then we're starting to pick it up across the borders, down the eastern side of England here, parts of Wales, Northern Ireland, the Republic, starting to see snow accumulations developing here. And as we progress towards the weekend, next weekend, notice here that we are seeing quite a decent coverage of snow. Also, northern France, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, all turning white here. So this looks as if it is a decent shot of cold air, but it's not extreme. I don't believe it's extreme at this moment in time. I don't think we're going to get anything, completely like, for example, a 2010. I don't think we're going to that, folks. So I'm not going to go down that road here. Very quick look at the temperatures here forecasted by the model as we push through the course of this week. Notice here that we start to increase the cold. Some very, very cold nights to come, I think, here. Do we see double digits below freezing? I think towards the end of the week and in the next weekend, that is a possibility that we could start to see the first -10s of the season. So that will be interesting to keep an eye on as well. So certainly a lot of winter weather to come, that's for sure. Do wrap up warm. Do stay safe. Ice is going to become a bit of an issue. I think snow is going to become an issue, especially over high ground routes. And winter is here, folks. So there's no getting away from that. But, everything is looked at in perspective. I try my best on this channel to not hype things up, but to basically show you the reality of what's going on. And pretty much that is what I think is going to take place over the next wee while anyway. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, what's left of it. And I'll see you again, hopefully again tomorrow with more. Please like, please share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Bye for now.